Show. Let's rock and roll. Rock and roll. Come on, everybody. Let's lose control. Brad and John, they're the ones to follow. Yeah, ready for the ride. It's the BJ Show. BJ Show.
You know, John, what a lot of people don't realize is that line in the song is aimed at our older listeners, me included, where we say lose control. If you go to our website, there's a coupon you can redeem for a free 144 pack of Depends. So if you do lose control listening to the show, you can't get mad at us because we got you covered, so to speak.
It's 12 dozen, Brad, and thankfully for you, because of your recent stints in the hospital, as the British would say, you've nicked a few of those on your way out. You're like, hey, I need a few extra pads.
I need a
You
few.
know, so you haven't even had to use that coupon in a while.
I need a few extra something or other. John, I have to be honest with you. These Monday shows are always sort of like, I guess I get reinvigorated because of the fact that I miss jousting with you during the week. You know what I mean? You and I go
Brad,
back.
Yeah, let me interrupt very rudely here and say I think we're good enough friends that you could say that you miss me. You don't have to put the emotion onto the jousting. You can put the emotion onto me, Brad. I think we have that kind of a relationship.
Well, now, hold it. Let me think. Would that be monkey branching? Would that be beta orbiting? Would that be me?
No, it would be monkey branching if you were offering this spot or the sale of the station to like a Brian Nieves or something. You get what I'm saying? Like that would be monkey branching. That would be leaving me for like a Brian Nieves. I mean, he is a handsome man, and the last name is slightly Hispanic. And, you know, that's in vogue lately. But
Brian
I don't
Nieves
know, Brad.
is in a new world which doesn't involve us anymore. He's gone. Let's just forget about Brian. He's just out there. Okay, that's John Combest. I'll spell his last name because that's going to be important. Combest. Why is that important? Because his web address that I mention every morning at this time is johncombest, Combest.com. And what he does is for 22 plus years puts together a list of all the important stuff going on in the state of Missouri. Could be from news stories, could be from press releases, could be from page 6 of the New York Post. We don't know where this stuff comes from, but John essentially curates all the information, puts it into his website, but even more importantly, he comes on the air with us and he brings all of his information and distills it down to 3 top stories. And we bring Casey Kasem along, and what is Casey's job?
And here they are.
And he starts off with...
In third place,
we're going to start Monday with a little extrapolation, Brad. I'm going to give you the top story from the Columbia Missourian. Now, we know this is the top story because the Columbia Missourian labels it, quote, top story. And here's the headline, Brad. Biden's actions in Gaza war leave Columbia voter in political limbo. Now, you know, as we approach primary elections, Brad, and as we approach general elections, you've been through more of these than I have. The quote-unquote media loves to do the man on the street and woman on the street profiles and interviews. You know, go into the old coffee shop, see what the proletariat are talking about. In this case, the Columbia Missourian, a gentleman named Quinn Kaufman, did a mini profile on a woman named Aziza Rashid. And I'll cut to the chase, Brad. Aziza says that she's been a reliable Democrat vote over the years. She tells her immigrant Muslim story. She tells the story of being terrified when Donald Trump was elected in 2016. He was going to deport everybody. She's been an outspoken Muslim activist. And she says that she simply can't bring herself to vote for Joe Biden because of his support for Israel. Now, Brad, I'm generally very skeptical of stories where the media will pick one person out and try to extrapolate it and say that it represents a larger community. But I do think that there are probably folks in real swing states, in Ohio, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, whatever, for whom their Muslim identity is a big part of how they vote, if not the major part of what they vote. And this could be a canary in the coal mine that's bad news for Joe Biden, Brad.
Okay, but let me ask you a dumb question. Well, who's she going to vote for? Because Trump's pro-Israel as well, too, right?
Fantastic question, Brad. She says the only thing that she is certain of is that she's not voting for either Biden or Trump But I think it goes a little bit more broadly, Brad, which I also think is interesting. She says she's not voting for the Republicans or the Democrats. She said that she went to an event, Dr. Jill Stein. Now, remember, she's not a real doctor. I think she's just like a Jill Biden type doctor. But Dr. Jill Stein was in Columbia. This woman said she went to a Jill Stein event, but she's not convinced Jill Stein is the one. She's open to, Cornel West, the radical professor, but she's not certain she wants to vote for Cornel West either. All she knows, Brad, is that after years of reliably voting for Democrats, she can't vote for Joe Biden again.
Okay, a dumb question for you, John.
Yeah.
I mean, is Cornel West even on the ballot in Missouri? I mean, I know, RFK.
I don't think so.
I don't think RFK is either. I mean, Jill Biden, I believe, is because isn't she still in the Green Party?
You mean Jill Stein?
What did I say? Jill Stein. Isn't she still? I think the Green.
Yeah, I think she's. I'm not sure if she's been officially nominated or not. And I don't mean to be flip, but I don't think it really matters. But to your point, I think Jill Stein would be on the ballot, but like a Cornel West would not.
Well, that's the thing that RFK is complaining about, the fact he's not involved in the debates, but he's only on the ballot like in 12 states. It's like, okay, that would be like me. Well, I'm upset because they didn't invite. I'm not on the debate. Well, guess what? First off, I'm on the ballot nowhere. I mean, like,
that's true.
I have no support. I have no money behind me. So, and by the way,
now the frustrating thing though is that Cornel West isn't even the best Cornell from Missouri. That's Cornell Haynes, aka Nellie, Brad.
You got that straight. But by the way, I don't mean to be a jerk when I say this, but if RFK were elected president, I think I would leave the country because I couldn't listen to that guy talk for 20 seconds the way he talks like that. I know he's got some crazy weird disease. It's sort of like, and I don't mean to make fun of her. I can remember her name. You always remember the name. She did the show on NPR, who she had.
Ryan Reed.
Yeah, right. And it's to the point where it's like, okay. It's to the point where, you don't have, if you look at TV and you look at, like, especially Fox News with the women who are all blonde hotties, wearing their stilettos.
Brad.
Hold on a minute. Should I? Hey, you want to have some fun?
Yeah, it's a Fox News. I hope it's a Fox Business blonde.
Hold on a minute. I'm going to answer this phone on live in here. Hello. 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 Hello.
Hi, this is Mary from Med Health Center.
Hey.
I'm calling to let you know that after this recent open enrollment, if you have Medicare Part A and B, you're eligible for great newly added benefits
Oh my God,
like
John.
monthly $180 cash back, dental, hearing, vision, prescription coverages,
Whoa.
and food card at absolutely no cost. So, do you have Medicare Part A and B?
I've got C, D, E, F, and G. I've got all of those. Everything. I've got them all. I've even got Q. I think I broke the algorithm.
Mary. Wasn't her name Mary?
Yeah, it's an AI call that
Aw.
I get these. Oh, she's gone.
Oh, we lost her, Brad. And we could have had $180. Think of how many Depends that could have purchased you. That could have been 1/10 of your insurance premium the next time you have to go in the hospital.
Okay, you're so nice to me, John. Okay, are we done with number 3? Can we move on to
We are, and as we talk about things that are people that make no sense, that leads nicely into number 2, Brad.
Okay, number 2 is
Up a notch to number 2.
A group in Jackson, Missouri, in the southeast part of the state. They're called Guardians of Liberty. And they had a meeting on Tuesday, Brad. Last Tuesday, they had a gentleman named Dr. Douglas Frank come in. Does this name ring a bell at all to you?
Is he another EDD doctor?
Yes. Yeah, he does. He specializes in levitation, and I'm not talking about what Dua Lipa does to me. No, he received a doctorate in surface electroanalytical chemistry from the University of Cincinnati. But he is today, Brad, an elections expert. So he's one of these guys that goes around the country talking about purported election fraud that happens in different places. And I'll cut to the chase. he talked to this group, Guardians of Liberty, and he talked about how elections nationally are controlled by an algorithm. Now, maybe I've been out of the loop here, Brad, and I don't mean to be sarcastic here, but have you heard this algorithm theory?
How many zillion times? Yes, of course I have.
Okay, well, I mean, like, I've never, when I hear these stories about how the elections are rigged, unless people have, like, videos or something I can grasp, I don't get it. But I've never heard, Brad, to be honest here, maybe I'm the only one, but I haven't heard the algorithm thing about how the elections are predetermined based on turnout and things like that. But this gentleman talked about how, you know, you're able to go through and see before an election, essentially, it's predetermined how many people will quote unquote vote, how the numbers are essentially rigged. And the most interesting thing about this is that I guess this gentleman met with Mike Lindell, and Mike Lindell threw him out of the meeting. Did you ever hear this story?
Well, you're throwing hot button issues at me because of the fact that I still have people who remember that I had a picture taken with Mike Lindell. And
I do remember that.
And I mean, to this day, I have people that I know that go, I remember that you had your picture taken with Mike Lindell. Okay. I'll follow up with Mike Lindell's story later of how I met Mike Lindell. And
it's a great one. And let's face it, there's a little pillow talk involved, right, Brad?
Okay. Just keep going on with this, and I'll bring up the Mike Lindell thing later.
So anyway, this gentleman says that he met with Mike Lindell. Mike Lindell got annoyed by him and threw him out of the room. Also annoyed by this guy was Jay Ashcroft. Now, here's the disturbing thing, Brad, and I'm going to be careful with my language here. You know that most folks know that after the show, Brad takes this and we put it on YouTube, and YouTube has very strict rules about words that you can't use that involve assault and violating someone.
Right.
This gentleman says that Jay Ashcroft essentially isn't a bad man, but that Jay Ashcroft knows what's going on, and quote unquote they, whoever they is, they have threatened, they may have gone to Ashcroft and said, quote, we're going to take you out. We're going to kill your wife. We're going to, and then I won't say this because I think it's something that would get us a strike on YouTube, but a certain type of carnal assault on Ashcroft's children, quote, whatever it is. There's pressure on these people at the top. So in other words, this guy is saying that, quote unquote, they went to Jay Ashcroft and might have threatened him with violence if he started talking about all these algorithms and essentially this conspiracy.
So in other words,
go ahead.
This guy is saying that there's this force, let's call it the Illuminati or the Bilderbergers, whatever they are, this secret coalition of people who really do control the elections, and they've threatened Jay Ashcroft. Is that essentially what this guy is saying?
Yeah. And what was interesting about this gentleman's comments is that he made it clear. He said that this county, so that would be Cape County, he's like, your county isn't as bad as some counties. And also, I think he knows. I mean, I think he read the room a little bit. There were a lot of people in the room, I'm sure, that really like Jay Ashcroft, that like their county clerk, Kara Clark Summers, who by all accounts is well respected in that county, executes elections with the highest precision. Nobody doubts her competency or her ethics. So I think he was reading the room and saying, okay, it might not be so bad here, but everywhere else it's really bad, and the algorithm is determining the outcome of elections.
Okay, so this guy goes around the country and he gives speeches like this?
Yeah, I think it's his thing. And I think I don't know if he's paid, if he gets an honorarium at some of these places.
That's what I was going to ask.
I'm guessing so. And I don't know if the Guardians of Liberty, this group in Jackson, I'm not sure if they would have paid, to get him there or to put him up. I'm not sure. And it's hard when you hear stories like this, Brad, because when I see a headline, I think, okay, if you are talking about election fraud, I'm all ears. Like, I want to hear what you have to say. But, man, it's hard to if you get thrown out of a room by both Mike Lindell and Jay Ashcroft.
Yeah, what is that? There's two different sides of that coin, right? If you,
I know. And, there are worse ways to threaten Jay Ashcroft, right? Like, you could You can make him hop on his basement treadmill. You can make him eat a vegetable. There's all kinds of things you could threaten Jay Ashcroft with.
It amazes me. We have this wonderful country. We have this freedom of speech, and sometimes people, they just go like out on the limb. Is there a term? Is this monkey branching, or is this?
This is not monkey
this is
branching,
not
but
monkey branching.
it is going out far out on a limb. But as opposed to monkey branching, there's not a better branch to swing to. Right?
Man. Okay, let's move on. Last but not least,
The number one.
That mogov race is heating up, Brad. And we got a couple polls over the weekend, starting on Friday, that take a closer look at the Missouri governor's race. The first one, which was the most widely publicized, is done by Emerson College. They're up in Boston, and they partner with The Hill, and they partner with Nexstar, which is, the TV company that's got a bunch of stations across the country. And in the Emerson College poll, they have 1,000 people that they polled of likely voters, and Jay Ashcroft leads the Missouri governor's race with 23% of the vote, Mike Kehoe 20, Bill Eigel 6. But the real winner, Brad, is undecided. 46% of people in the Republican primary are undecided.
Yeah,
and real quick, I'll mention a second one that came out over the weekend. It's done by Remington Research, which is affiliated with Jeff Rose Group, which is Axiom over in Kansas City. They had 701 likely Republican voters. And those numbers broke down at 31 for Ashcroft, 29 for Kehoe, 9 for Bill Eigel. So the race is certainly tightened up. So no matter how you look at it, Jay Ashcroft has stayed pretty much the same, and Eigel and Kehoe have ticked up. But still, if you are Kehoe or you're Eigel, you're pointing out that undecided is still a huge number here. And there's, let's guess, 5 weeks to go, 6 weeks to go?
Yeah,
the
something
election,
like
Brad?
that. I mean, do you believe those numbers? Do you believe there's that many undecided still in Missouri for the governor?
I think there's that many people that would answer the question undecided. Now you put them in. So here's the trick, Brad. You put them in a poll. You put them in a voting booth today. Do they quote come home to Ashcroft? In other words, do they vote for the guy whose name they know, who has a solid Republican brand, or do they vote for somebody who they've seen a lot of ads of recently, which would probably be Kehoe? I don't know.
Well, I've told you for weeks and weeks, maybe months and months, that I see Kehoe billboards everywhere. I mean,
You do, yeah.
And I've yet to see an Ashcroft billboard. I don't think I've seen any Eigel billboards. Now, once again, we're talking about people who, well, who looks at billboards anymore? You know what? If there weren't people looking at them, there wouldn't be people buying the advertising. This is the thing that drives me nuts. This is the problem we get in this. Who listens to the radio anymore? Like 92% of the adult population of the United States. That's who. That kind of stuff. But
yeah.
Anyway. Okay.
Hey, well, let me say real quick. I know civilians, plural civilians, and that's what I call people that don't pay attention to politics every day.
Right.
Who ask me or who will text me and say something about a China ad because they've seen a Mike Kehoe ad. And these are people who, to use one example, will just have local news on to see what the weather's going to be or who got shot this weekend in St. Louis, and they're inundated with Mike Kehoe ads. So those are people, and again, only a percentage of them are going to vote in the Republican primary, but some of those people will know the name Kehoe.
See, and the interesting thing is they're seeing those on over-the-air OTA broadcast stations. They're seeing those on Channel 4, Channel 5, Channel 2, Channel 11. And once again, people will say, well, who watches regular TV anymore? Once again.
Yeah, people put it on, Brett. And I'm sorry to interrupt, but I'm talking about millennials too. So millennials are the ones texting me who just happen to have it on, again, for crime and for weather. And you're right. People say, well, nobody watches TV anymore. Well, some people do.
Well, the interesting part of that is that once again, these people who are spending political money, for the most part, they know what they're doing. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And they're not just, buying advertising time from their cousin who works at Channel 5, because, when at the family reunion they promised they would, drop a nice, order in their basket. It just
Yeah, and you know what? Hey, I think this is proof positive. And folks in the TV and the radio industry will be able to point to whatever happens in the governor's race come August 6th. There's no doubt that Mike Kehoe has closed the gap by doing paid media, by doing billboards. And yes, he's out in communities. And yes, he's getting endorsements of these groups. But this is a testament to the power of TV and radio and conventional advertising.
But, we still have zero advertising on this station or other station for any candidates. None. Zero. Not one single advertiser.
And how could people get advertising, Brad?
They can, if they want to quote, we have a special form. And the form we're using, just write your name, address, phone number, email address on the back of our special form. This week, we're using the special form is a $100 bill. Mail it to me, and I will send you back your official quote.
And that's why, if you're a candidate and you're listening, that's how serious we take political advertising.
That's right. We just don't mess around. Okay, we have to take a break. Lots of stuff to talk about this morning. I got a whole list of stuff, John. I hope you're ready. You ready?
I'm ready.
Thanks for checking out the Brad and John Show podcast. This segment of the show is brought to you by John Combest's book, Stalking, Harassment, Internet Trolling, A Guide to Recovering and Rebuilding After Online Attacks. It's a great reference if you've ever been the unfortunate target of a social media attack. It's available on Amazon. Just search John Combest. That's Combest, John Combest, and the book will show up in your search results. Now it's time for another segment of the Brad and John Show. Can you handle it?